All right, so I'm over here on the kind of half of the first floor that I sealed off. I was having a little bit of trouble getting down into the shop today for two reasons. Number one, I don't have anything specific to work on. And number two, I keep having to walk by this thing. Now this, apologies for the framing, is a laser. I am not a tech savvy person, but I did get this for a specific project, and I think it can accent my woodworking nicely. So I'm not going to bother doing the whole unboxing thing. I had to repackage this thing when I moved, so I'm just going to be taking each piece out, kind of explaining what it is, if I know what it is, and then we'll go from there, try to get it set up right here on this table. Here we've got, I believe it's a steel, there's a film on this side, but I believe it's a steel protective plate for whatever you're going to be burning on. Put that down there. Get all the packing material out of here. I will say it is packaged pretty well, no problems there. This is the frame. Cat's meowing. A little bit wobbly, but I think that's actually the table. We got a few cords here. I'm sure one is the power cord. This is for the power. This is to adapt to your computer, I believe. Put those off to the side. Here we've got USB, zip ties, a couple tools. Some safety goggles, essential. Some testing wood, I believe that might come in handy. And then if I can get it out, we have the user manual, which I might actually take a closer look at this time, and the laser itself. Okay, now if I remember correctly, there is one more thing underneath the rest of this packing. There is, and it is this honeycomb frame thing. Not 100% sure if this is going to be essential for what I'm doing, because I'm not going to be burning through any wood, but supposedly this is supposed to improve airflow or something like that. So we'll figure out how we're supposed to use all this stuff again, get the laser hooked up to my computer, and then see how it goes. So now you can see the whole device set up. I have the actually aluminum plate set up underneath the honeycomb airflow improvement pad thing, piece of sample wood on top, the frame, and then the laser itself attached to the frame. If I didn't mention it before, this is a Creality Falcon 5, I believe. So I now have it set up to the point that I had it at before, where I was having to troubleshoot it a little bit too much and I ran out of time. But with the software finally installed, and I believe the laser correctly assembled, we'll try to run it again. I found two possible causes for this issue. When I Googled it, it said there could be an issue with the driver. Again, I don't know anything about computers. I'm hoping it's not that. The other problem could have been just I didn't import the picture correctly. So after watching one 5-minute video from Lightburn software, I have decided to slightly alter course. Instead of going right into that project, because I really want to use this nice piece of black walnut for that sign, I don't want to jump straight into that without knowing what I'm doing. So instead, I'm going to make a keychain with my business name on it. And by doing that and doing the whole design completely in the Lightburn software, I'm hoping that will solve the issue because I won't have to import any images. So I'm just going to follow the Lightburn software video again, step by step, and then try to run this laser again. Fingers crossed. All right, so now as you can see, I have my little keychain designed out over here. Didn't take too long. And the exact same error is popping up. So going to now do some research into installing the correct driver, ? And hope that actually works out. Open terminal program under applications utilities folder and type the command whatever. It's all gibberish to me. Yeah, I feel like I'm trying to learn a new language by picking up a dictionary and just reading through it. All right, so it's the next day, refreshed patience, and I have decided to take one more crack at this. I talked to my cousin, who's much more tech savvy than I am, and he said he could help me out this afternoon, but I don't really want to take up too much of his time with stuff like this. I would really like to get this figured out if I can. So while I have my patience and a fresh cup of coffee, I am going to take one more crack at getting a driver installed. I watched a YouTube video this morning that made the process step by step look pretty easy. So give that one more try. If it doesn't work, I'll find something else to work on, and I'll wait for my my cousin to help me out with this. He thinks he can help me out. So with that being said, fingers crossed. Okay, so I spent the last hour or so doing a little bit more research and messing around in the terminal, but I couldn't figure out anything. So I went back to that YouTube video that I was watching before, and I went down to the comments to see if anyone was having the same problem, and people were. It turns out the problem was with the connection, and this is something that I really, really don't understand. The cable that I was using to connect the laser to my computer was this, okay? Cable works, not a problem with the cable. But apparently, for this laser to work properly, you have to, I'll stop and flip the camera around. So that bottom cable that I just plugged in is the same as this, which I had plugged in before, okay? We come around now to my laptop. I have this cable, which ends in a USB, plugged into an adapter that goes back into a USB-C. So it's basically the long way around of making one of these, but for whatever reason, the laser now seems to work. I haven't actually tested it yet, but as soon as I plugged that in, it started moving around. So that's a good sign, at least. Still pretty frustrating to have been wasting all that time on such a simple fix, but still immensely satisfying to actually see it paying off. I still haven't tested it yet. I need to test it. Hold on. Okay, so as you can see, I have my file loaded back up, my boiler room woodworking keychain. Laser says ready. It actually is making a sound now. It's not running anything, but it is ventilating or something. So, making a good sound, I think. So, I will show you right now. I have it framed on this piece of birch, whatever it is. So right now I'm gonna try to send it to the origin and see if that works. And yes, it does. So now, we're gonna start it, see if it works. It's working! I think. Oh yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna let this run, maybe set up a time lapse, and yeah, hopefully when it actually gets to the cutting part, it doesn't create too much smoke, because I am indoors on a nice first floor here, so I don't want to mess that up. So, let's see how it goes. Okay, so problem number one is I can smell the smoke and we're still on the etching part. Problem number two, you can probably figure out for yourself. If we come around here, I'm not 100% sure why it is printing backwards. And we are now on the cutting phase, so well, we'll let it run. I don't think it's going to take too long. So, yeah. When I take these little safety goggles off, I can't really see too much smoke in the air, but when I see over, oh yeah, there's quite a bit of smoke. I'm gonna have to open up these windows here in a second, but fortunately this is almost done, so don't have too much to worry about. But I still don't understand why it is going backwards. Very strange. Okay, so here we have our funky little backwards keychain. I really don't think the smoke was too much of a problem for something as small as this. I wanted to get that fan set up, but the outlet that down there below that wine rack thing does not work. So gonna have to get that figured out too. But current priorities are figuring out why this is backwards and how we can make this a little bit darker. I think I know how to figure out the second problem pretty easily. If I go here into cuts and layers, you can see that the text is the blue layer. So I go up to the blue layer, speed and power, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I'll probably just have to turn the speed down, I think, or just have it do more than one pass to get a little bit more of an actual etching effect, because I don't know, it almost just looks like it's drawn on or printed on, but biggest problem is figuring out how to get this running correctly, because that's not legible right now. At least not unless you're standing in a mirror. Okay, so just for fun, what I did was I removed the device from my device list and then reconnected it almost the exact same way. I just changed where the origin was because I got a little bit confused with the frame and where this thing is, where it's supposed to be. But what that did was flip my file. So now that I think the device is set up correctly with the origin, wait, let me see. Yes, so now it recognizes the origin as there, which it was before, but it didn't, it looked different than that. So I think if I now flip the text over, it should come out correctly. Fingers crossed. All right, so what I've done now is I've adjusted the file so that I think the font will be right side up. And I've adjusted the layer for the etching so that the speed is a little bit slower. So hopefully that will be a little bit darker. I've also changed where this hole was gonna be. Kind of wanted it up in the corner to give myself a little bit more room for the text. I also don't really like how big this is. I didn't change the size, but for a keychain, this looks really big to me, especially with, I mean, I have a pair of keys right here. It's pretty, well, I don't know. You guys tell me. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to disconnect everything. I'm going to pray, and then I'm going to get this set up downstairs in the basement. The reason why I didn't want to set it up downstairs in the basement in the first place was because I was afraid it was going to get dusty, and it's an expensive tool, but at the end of the day, almost all of my tools are pretty expensive, and this is just another tool. So I'm just gonna try to keep this in a place where it's not gonna get dusty, maybe just put it in a different room for now. And then if I end up using this thing relatively often, then I might build myself an enclosure for it so it's number one, kind of self-contained, and number two, contained away from the dust. So yeah, let's get that set up. And really, really hope nothing goes wrong in between breaking this down and getting it set back up. Fingers crossed. Okay, so got the laser set back up down here in the shop on this table that is just barely big enough for the feet on this frame. Speaking of framing, I believe I have this set up. If I press the frame button, I believe I have it set up so I can reuse this same piece of birch or whatever it is. I gotta figure out what this stuff is. Reuse this same piece rather than using another one. I should have been smarter about my placement with the first keychain, but I wasn't exactly sure where the laser was gonna come out. And then I noticed I can actually kind of see it down here. So press frame one more time and you can kind of see it should be able to avoid the rest of that birch. We'll see. Okay, and we have our first successful laser engraved project. I mean, I'm sure there are a few things I could do to kind of touch this up. I wish this was still a little bit darker. I don't know. Still looks a little bit light to me, but that's something I can adjust as I go along. I'm glad I didn't jump straight into that project because number one, it would have been upside down. I want this to be the top side, and number two, I don't want that horse design on there. I want to actually come up with some, which brings me to my next point. Now that this is done and I actually have an idea of what I'm doing in this software now and how this laser works, I have to figure out how to be a better designer. Yeah. So I spent some time up in my living / editing / dining room because it's Saturday and I can do what I want. And I was playing around with the design a little bit, and I thought to myself, I realized that I was really overthinking it. So what originally happened was I got sent a couple pictures of a horse. I'm making a sign for a horse stable, I think. So I got sent a couple pictures of the horse, and then I went trying to find templates of a similar horse that I could carve. And then I just kept staying in that carving mindset without realizing I have now a laser, and I can pretty much do whatever I want. So, what I decided to do is I loaded up one of the images. I spent some time cropping and just kind of cleaning up the background of one of the pictures, so it's just the horse's head. And I'm going to try to laser engrave that image onto my last piece of test wood that I got with the laser. So that should take about 15 minutes. Unfortunately, I might have to open up the windows here, but if all goes well with this test, then I think I'm going to go ahead and jump right onto the black walnut. Fingers crossed. Okay, so as you can tell, that didn't work as planned. It doesn't show up much on camera, but you can kind of tell what it was trying to do. You can see the ears up there and the diamond on its head and the accent line over there. But this was user error. So I adjusted the speed and power for the text layer, which is this fill layer here. I adjusted the speed and power right here, and there's going to be a name under here, but I deleted it for now. But I didn't adjust the speed and power for this image layer. So it was running at 6,000 millimeters per minute at only 20% power. So what I'm going to do now is I will adjust the power to, we'll say 50. Okay, we'll keep the speed the same because I don't want to change too many variables. And I haven't moved where this thing is. You could probably see it wobbling, but this is just a test, so I'm not too concerned about it. I haven't moved this thing, so I'm hoping if I just run the same program again, it'll come out exactly the same, just with a little bit more power. So I'll get the time lapse set back up again, and hopefully this time it'll come out a lot darker, because right now you cannot tell what it's supposed to be. All right, so now you can actually tell what the picture is supposed to be, especially in some good lighting. I definitely still do want it to be a little bit darker. So what I'm going to do now is just flip it over, put it right back down. I'll frame it again, so I'll make sure it's not gonna run off. And then I will adjust the settings over here one more time. I'll probably keep the speed the exact same and just crank the power up. So we'll see how it goes. All right, so I ran to Lowe's and I picked up one 2 foot by 4 foot sheet of very, very thin plywood, and I ripped it down into these 8 1 foot by 1 foot squares. I'm gonna use 1 or 2 of these to continue testing the settings for the images and probably the text. I won't make you watch all that, but I will put the speed and the power for each setting underneath each image. So that way you'll at least be able to see what got each result. So let's get to working on that. Forgot to mention, those cuts were also the first cuts that I made with the dust extractor. So that was exciting. It seemed to work pretty well. I'm sure most of this was probably here before. I'm not really sure actually, but I'm sure there was an improvement when I turn it on. See, there's obviously suction. So, yeah. Okay, so it's dark out now. Spent all day down here in the shop trying to get this figured out, and I've made some progress. So I started down here. Quite obviously went way too hard with the power and slow with the speed. So adjusted that quite a bit and got a much better result, but then I ended up with this rectangle. That was, right before that was when I discovered bit mapping and what that was. So I went through that whole process. It was supposed to make the image come out a little bit better, and I think it did, but it brought that rectangle into the picture, and I didn't figure out how to get rid of that until later. But you can see that one was a little bit better, and then we went backwards. Something happened there, I forget, but did some more troubleshooting, finally got the image back, but realized something was going wrong, probably going way too hard with the power. Yeah, as you can see, it was all charred. So flip over here to when I started to get the settings dialed in. Still was going way too high with the power and slow with the speed, I guess. Same deal here. Here I lowered the power a little bit. I kind of progressively lowered the power here. And then I started to notice this burning really only on the left side of the image. So I decided to speed up the laser and keep it the same power. The reason why I didn't want it at full speed to begin with is because I thought it would lose some definition in the image, but overall I think it came out looking pretty darn good. Obviously I still have a little bit more testing to do. I figured out how to get rid of that background on this final test. But over here, I thought it was still a little bit too dark. It was getting a little bit burned, so I didn't like that. I decided over here to lower the speed and just go for 2 passes. And what ended up happening, this was my first time trying to make 2 passes. You can kind of see it over on the right side here. When it reset and started the second pass, it skipped over to the right just a little bit, and it made everything look really, really bad. All the definition that was in it before on the first pass is now completely gone. It actually looked better than this one on the first pass, and then the second pass came and actually screwed it up. So, in my research, I figured out, well, I deduced that it was probably a belt tension issue on the x-axis. Okay, so trying to go around here and figure out where the belt tension adjustment thingy is, and I do not see it anywhere. I do not know what it looks like, where it could be, and Google has been no help whatsoever. So, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna go make some dinner, and I'm going to attack this tomorrow with some refreshed patience, like always. Decided to get an early start in the shop today. It is 5 in the morning, so it is darker than it was when I ended yesterday, I believe. But I have located what I think are the adjustment screws up under the frame. For the y-axis, they're nice and accessible, but for the x-axis, gotta go up under there. And I think I only have to loosen this side enough so that I can tug on this and pull it out 1 tooth. I'm just gonna try 1 tooth for now and see if that resolves the issue, or run another test with it that way. Got the belt tension adjusted, hopefully. I had to take this kind of frame bar off by removing these 2 screws on the ends here in order to get better access to the, I can't really see them now, but those adjustment screws up under that frame. And I just pulled this belt out just a little bit, and when I turned the laser back on, got it hooked back up and turned back on, it was making a real weird noise, and it was weird enough to make me just kind of hit the kill switch here. And after about 2 minutes, I built up the courage to turn it back on, and the noise was gone. So, have my file set back up exactly the same way as I did last night. Speed 6,000 millimeters a minute, 50% power, and 2 passes. I'm going to be standing right next to this thing, making sure nothing goes wrong, because I don't really trust it. So I'm sitting here watching this thing go, waiting for it to finish the first pass to see if it still skips. And I realized there's one consideration that I probably haven't really been thinking about nearly as much as I probably should be. All of these test pieces, those first 2 or 3 were done on the test material that came with the laser. Then I ran out to Lowe's and I got this stuff called Luan plywood. I don't know, something I've never heard of. But I've been doing all of my tests since then on this plywood, and I'm wondering if the settings are going to have to be completely different on the black walnut. So I feel like I'm still learning a lot, and I'm starting to get this thing dialed in. Again, that skipping x-axis issue would have been something that I wouldn't have known about until it was on the sign, and that makes me very glad that I'm doing all this testing to begin with. But I do hope all of the knowledge that I'm gaining from these tests actually is applicable to the black walnut, or I'm at least able to adjust accordingly. Okay, so just finished up on the black walnut. It looks really good. I can't show you right now because there is a name on it and I cannot move it or put tape on it right now. But at the risk of this same thing happening, kind of charring this top layer and carbonizing it, I think I'm gonna run it one more time just because it looks a little bit too light, and especially once I get a finish on it, I think it's just not gonna really show up as much as I want it to. So I'm gonna run the exact same thing one more time. I haven't moved the board, so we'll see how that goes. I will put a piece of tape over the name when it's done and show you guys what it looks like. All right, so here it is. I stopped it after the second pass only on the image. I didn't let it get to the text. Number one, because I think the text looks good as it is. It's not flaky at all, and I think it's dark enough. Number two, we are having that same stepping off problem on the second pass. So I'll try to get a before and after picture from the first pass so you can see just how much definition I lost on that second pass. But yeah, what I'm going to have to do now is, number one, pick up another coffee, then plane this out, maybe give it another sanding. I'll probably water pop it, which I will get into in another video, and then bring it back over here, adjust my settings just slightly for the image so that I only have to make one pass. And then I think I should be golden. Okay, so got this planed and sanded back down. Can't see anything was on it anymore. So adjusted the settings. Time to run this one more time and hope for the best. I think I actually have the settings dialed in now, so hopefully after this, throw a finish on this and get to editing. Ladies and gentlemen, we got them. So obviously something happened where we got a little bit of burning over here on the left side of it. I'm really not that worried about it. I've spent far too much time on this thing and that looks pretty damn good to me. Over here on the name, still looks pretty good. I will delete something from the design real quick, and then I will show you over here. So for our image, you can see up here, this is our top layer. I went for 2,000 millimeters per minute for the speed and 100% power. For the second image, which is this little accent line here, I went 3,000 and 50% power. I don't exactly know why I did that, but it seemed to come out pretty good and match the depth and darkness of the text, so I like that. Same thing for the text. Oh, that's why I did that. And then there was another piece of text down here. It was a name that I'm keeping out for privacy reasons, but same parameters, 3,000 millimeters a minute and 50% power. And I gotta say, I'm pretty happy with that result. I really hope the client is too. So I'm back home for Thanksgiving, standing right outside my old shop, which has been quickly reclaimed by my parents, fine by me. But I needed a little bit of a place to film an outro because I realized just now while I was trying to wrap up editing that I never really got one done. That last clip you just saw was all I got done filming just before Thanksgiving holiday. So I really just want to get this up. And I also don't have the sign anymore. I actually delivered it yesterday to the client and she loved it. She didn't actually realize until her daughter was the one that wanted the sign. It was for her, and she was the one that pointed out that I actually used an image of her horse. She thought I had just gone and used something from Google, which kind of was the plan to begin with, but yeah, I'm really glad with how that came out. That being said, still have a few things that I want to touch on here. I got a sticky note with 3 questions that I want to make sure I hit. Number 1, what did I learn in the process of getting this project done and actually finally getting that laser set up? Well, I feel like I'm a little bit more comfortable around computers, so hopefully I'll be able to use it a little bit more often and actually have my vinyl cutter that I was using for templates, and I never really used for templates, right outside the boiler room here, and I never brought it up to New York, so maybe now I have the confidence to attack some of those kinds of projects. And maybe I'll actually kind of jump into the vinyl sign making world too, since that's actually what that is made for. But yeah, got a little bit more familiar with computers and a lot more familiar with photo editing. I know I mentioned it in a little title, whatever you want to call it, but Lightburn has a few photo editing tools built into it, and those were really helpful for kind of getting a clearer image and more definition for different applications. So I'm not knowledgeable enough to kind of speak on those tools. There are plenty of people out here on YouTube who are. I don't know them personally. I kind of figured it out trial and error, but yeah, I feel much more confident in my computer skills and photo editing skills just because of this one project. That doesn't make me appreciative of how much work I had to go through to get it set up, but that being said, what can you do? You kind of got to make the best out of it. Question number 2, would I recommend this laser? And this is a pretty loaded question, and you might be surprised by the answer, but I would actually go ahead and probably say yes if you are a patient person, because this is definitely not a plug-and-play type of machine. You cannot just drag your image on over from wherever you want to import it from and expect a good result, because that's not going to happen, or at least it's not very likely to happen. So more than recommending this laser, I think I would recommend educating yourself about kind of photo editing and that kind of stuff in order to make sure that you know you're going to get a good result. So yeah, the Creality Falcon 5-watt laser, it did the job that I needed it to do, and I think it'll be able to do a little bit more, which kind of leads me into my next question, which is what's next? I'm planning on using this laser to hopefully generate a little bit of business. My client said she would kind of boost me up a little bit and tell everybody where she got the sign from, so that might help me out getting my brand up a little bit. And I think I got the idea, I might have mentioned this earlier, but I got the idea of using the laser to try to make my own business cards. This has probably been done thousands of times already, but still I think it would be a really unique kind of way of kind of putting my business out there, especially at kind of craft fairs and things like that. Pretty inexpensive way to do it. Last thing that I wanted to touch on, it's not on my sticky note, but the last thing I wanted to touch on is that I've kind of gained a lot of respect for the maker world. I'm not exactly sure what the correct term for that is. The maker space, I guess you would call it. When it comes to laser engraving, laser cutting, 3D printing, CNCing, water jets, things like that where you are telling a machine what to do, there are a lot of controversial opinions when it comes to those type of machines. And for a long time, I was on the wrong side of that controversy, I think. Having this tool and kind of getting affiliated with it has, it's given me a great deal of respect for the types of people who work with those types of tools. And yeah, it's just really kind of changed my perspective. So at some point, maybe I will invest in a CNC or something like that, because at times there certainly are times where a CNC could be applicable in woodworking and still have it be genuine woodworking. So that's pretty much all I got. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you are watching this today, I hope you have an amazing Thanksgiving. All right, have a good one. Thanks for watching.